everyone, and welcome to our very final video for Growing Indigo with Praxis over the season of 2021. This has been an unbelievable year. I'm so grateful to have gone through this process with all of you. I've received so much feedback, so many amazing comments and questions and experiences. I've learned so much this season, and I hope that you have too. And this is the last part, which is that you get to now come to Praxis and experience what dyeing with natural indigo is really like. And so here we are in our garage, and this is where our indigo processing facility is. It's not fancy, but what's unbelievable is it's only one of 3 Japanese indigo processing facilities in the country. So we are a really rare location where we're taking Japanese indigo all the way to Tsukumo, which is the Japanese term for composted indigo. And it's a very special and very sacred process, and we are so happy to be sharing it with you. So you can refer back to week 9 video, I believe, which goes through the composting process. So I'm standing in front of our composting floor. Quick reminder, this is a 4-foot hole in the ground that's been backfilled with gravel and clay. And essentially all of the dried leaves that you're delivering to us this month are gonna get piled in a heaping 400-pound pile and composted. It should take about 14 weeks over the winter months. So we are using the Tsukumo that we composted last year, but if you come to use the indigo vat in 2022, it will be your leaves that are part of that Tsukumo. So week 10 video, I hope I'm getting my numbers right, I showed you the beginning of starting the vat from the Tsukumo and the wood ash lye. So the reason that you've had a huge delay in correspondence from me is because the vat that I started during that process never activated. It never fully fermented. And there are some really fun chemistry facts to explain why that happened. We learned a lot about pH levels, and we started over again. So this process is it's slow, and it's involved, and it's beautiful. And we started over, and we remade the strengths of lye, and we had the new Tsukumo, and we are now finally able to use our natural indigo vat. So I'm gonna have you come over and look at the surface of this vat. It is shiny and iridescent, and you can see that the top and the surface of the liquid is actually reacting to oxygen, and it's oxygen, which is the ingredient that turns indigo blue. Inside of this liquid, this is a 55-gallon drum of natural indigo. Inside this liquid is a yellowy, murky brown color. And it's not until you lift the fabric out of the liquid and it's exposed to oxygen that blue emerges. And it's really a magical process, and it's why so many cultures across the globe have treasured and valued this process so deeply. So I'm so excited to share it with you. So when you come, you're gonna receive a piece of fabric to dye, and I have 2 different types. I've already have them soaking here. I have a silk scarf, which is a 60-inch long silk scarf. Go ahead and show that to you now. And also a cotton bandana. The silk and the cotton take the dye a little differently, have a little bit of a variation, but here's kind of the scale and shape of the silk scarf. And then here is the cotton bandana. And when you're here, we're gonna guide you through some shibori techniques, some ways to tie-dye or put resist on the fabric if you want some pattern or variation in your results. But the truth is, I love the blue so much. I like to dye things solid, and I'm gonna do that for our demo today. So the first thing that you'll do is put your fabric in water, because we want the fabric to be fully wet. It helps the indigo absorb into the fibers more evenly. So once it's been soaking for a minute or so, you're now ready to dye it in the indigo vat. So come on over. Here we are at the vat, and the most important thing to know is that this is an active and fermented and alive vat. And there is no oxygen inside the vat. And remember, oxygen is that key ingredient that turns the liquid into blue. So it's really important that we don't add unnecessary oxygen into the vat. So we're not going to stir, we're not gonna make bubbles, we're not gonna vigorously move our fabric around, we're gonna be gentle, we're gonna be slow, and kind of in tune with the liquid. So I'm gonna start with my cotton bandana, and I'm gonna slowly lower it into the vat until it's all the way submerged. And a dip can be anywhere between 1 minute and 5 minutes. So we have some clamps that are set up, and you can go ahead and clamp your fabric and like let it drop. So we'll go ahead now and wait for 2 minutes. And while we're waiting, we can talk a little bit more about what's actually happening. So unlike other natural dye processes, if you've ever dyed with onion skins or cabbage peels at home, you need heat and also a mordant, what's called a mordant, to make the color stick to the fabric. The mordant is literally the bond or the glue between the color and your fiber. Indigo is special because it's self-mordanting. It needs no other things other than a liquid itself to become permanent to the fabric. But unlike other natural dyes that come from plants and flowers, those are bonding to the fabric with the help of that mordant. Indigo is actually just coating the fibers really, really, really well. That's because, for example, if you've ever had a brand new pair of denim blue jeans and rubbed your hands off on them and your hands become blue, you don't notice your jeans becoming any less blue, but the indigo is so good at coating, it does have excess that will kind of continue to rub off and of course fade over time like any dye does. So we can do a couple of things just to ensure that the indigo is really absorbing into the fibers. So you can do this with bare hands because this is a natural pigment, so you don't have to worry about your hands being exposed to anything. But we also have gloves. So you can take that, you can take your fabric in your hand and you can actually start to massage it a little bit underneath the water. So doing very slow movements with your fingers and being careful not to create or cause any unnecessary air bubbles. It's cool, you can kind of see the inside of the liquid is brown, but if I look on my hand as I'm bringing it up, that it's turning blue. And that's exactly what's gonna happen to our fabric. So I'm just kind of using my hands, I'm massaging the indigo, kind of making sure that it's really kind of ingrained in those fibers. And when my 2 minutes are over, I'm gonna do as best I can, squeeze liquid out inside the vat. So I have my cotton in both hands, I'm squeezing as hard as I can, and then I'm gonna lift my hands and the squeezed out fabric out of the vat. So this way I'm creating no extra drips, I'm not having any unnecessary liquid dripping back into the vat, and this is because the indigo that you bring out into the air, this is touched oxygen. So if it's super liquidy and we put it right back in, it's adding oxygen into the vat. So we can see, if I come out into the sun, unbelievable, that the brown is turning blue before our eyes. So you'll notice it's kind of like a grainy turquoisey color, and that is literally from the plant matter still. At the very end of your process, you're going to wash it out in water and the brown will melt away, leaving you that rich royal indigo blue that you know and admire. But what we want to do is let this expose in the air for as long as we spent inside the vat. So if you were 2 minutes inside the vat, we'll spend 2 minutes outside of the vat. So I'll go ahead and lean this over here and it'll stay. And in the meantime, I'll go ahead and try my silk. So I just did the first dip on the silk, and you can just see that the difference in color. So the silk takes the indigo and it's a little bit more neon and electric. So beautiful, they're both beautiful. There's no wrong choice. So please go ahead and think about that before you come in. So what we have now is one dip in the indigo vat. In order to get a darker blue, it actually takes multiple dips in the vat. So some of the dark, rich, if you've seen, natural indigo being used before, it's 9, 10, 11, 12 dips in the vat that are bringing you to that royal navy deep blue color. So the other thing that's different about this natural vat than a synthetic vat, for example, even though the chemistry is mimicking the natural vat exactly the same, is that this vat is just much more sensitive. We can't dye continuously in the vat to our heart's desire as much as we would want to. We actually have to follow a sort of specific weight allowance. And if we try to dye more fiber, more weight of fiber than the vat allows, it kind of causes the vat to go to sleep. It sort of says, I don't want to be used that much, I need time to regenerate. So it does need time for those bacteria to reactivate, and that happens because the composted indigo is still in the bottom of the vat, and every time you give it a stir, the indigo is reconnected with the lye, which is creating that fermentation or natural reaction. And so the bacteria actually regenerate over time. So if we have to be really careful. So with a couple, I think 10 or 12 of you coming in one day, you'll only be able to dip up to 3 times. But you're gonna get a beautiful, gorgeous middle tone blue with this 3 dips. And if you would like to come back and dip your fabric more times to create a darker blue, we invite you to do that for any open studio at Praxis. Please continue coming to Praxis, using the Indigo over the cold months, and just kind of continuing to sort of see the wonders of what's possible with this natural dye. So for the purposes of our demo right here, I'm gonna go ahead and rinse my fibers out in water so you can see what that one dip light blue color generates. So I have a pot full of water here. Since my silk is new, I'll let that sort of sit, and I'll take the cotton and go ahead and wash it out. So I don't know if you can see, but the water is fully brown, like the brown literally just falls away. And what you're left with is that gorgeous pale blue indigo color. And that was like the quickest rinse. That dark brown wants to just fall off and leave the blue. So again, this is one dip. So this is the palest shade. And as we dip and use the vat, it'll just get darker and darker. Because this is a brand new vat, it's also gonna darken over time. So if you would come back, say, in the middle of the winter, you're gonna get a totally different result. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you feel more prepared for your indigo dyeing experience, and we look forward to seeing you at Praxis soon.